So I'll be talking about ninja philosophy and science and medical theories, if we have any. And this aspect of this aspect of study hasn't been really researched very enough, and it was really hard to find primary sources to actually get all this information, and I didn't get enough. I don't think I got all the necessary information, but I tried to present whatever I can. Okay, so first, okay, so what is ninja? And this is actually an excerpt from the one of the manuscripts that's on your handout. Show Ninji, which is one of the manuscripts that actually ninja used, or it's actually it's a manuscript that was actually that outlines the ninja activities and how to become one. And this part is actually talking about how to disguise and sneak into the castles and houses. This one, at the time when ninja were most active in the 16th century Japan, these were like colored areas are all the feudal lords having all these, they were fighting against each other. And so it's practically all over Japan with just people fighting all over, like everywhere, for like 300 years. And even those places that are not colored, there were like small conflicts going on, and so yeah, it was technically like everyone was fighting at the time for like 300 years. And Japan is apparently, I didn't know this, but it was really advanced in warfare system, and it was the guns were imported in 1543. But after that, they actually bought so many from Europeans, and it seems like Japanese, like 30% of Japanese entire army carried guns, whereas in Europe only like 10% was, in general, 10% of the army carried guns. And they would also, in Japan, they would also employ like, at least 20,000 soldiers at one battle, whereas in Europe at the same time it would be roughly about 10,000. And even Habsburg Spanish would probably have had 50,000 soldiers at the time in mobilization. And so, okay. And this kind of necessitated people to find a way to actually convey or deliver information without being leaked to, and also like provisions, securing provisions, and knowing whether, the enemy's information was extremely advantageous. And for those reasons, they kind of decided, the ninja apparently seems to be employed in all these kind of espionage and spy organization, like spy, espionage, basically. Okay, and this is a battle of Sekigahara, which was, this part has not much to do with theory or anything, it's just kind of describing. This battle actually ended the warring state period that had lasted about almost 300 years. And after this, Edo period began, and that's when kind of relative peace was achieved. And ninja at the time, and this time was apparently, this was the time when ninja were most often employed, and afterwards they gradually decreases, and they kind of they become forgotten by the people too. Okay, so here is kind of the beginning of the presentation. So there are 3 ninja manuscripts that we use as semi-primary sources, and these are Bansen Shukai. One is called Bansen Shukai, which is like a many rivers meeting in one place. And Shoninji, and this is the one I'm using, which doesn't really have any cover or anything, so it's kind of not much use to showing this. But and another one is called UQAM. And it seems like all these three ninja manuscripts are all related and seem to be legitimate. And other manuscripts were often created in late Edo period, when after 200 years after ninja was most active. So it wasn't, and also oftentimes they were written to heroicize or fabricate stories about ninja. So it seems that these three manuscripts are the ones that we should look into if we want to know anything about ninja. Okay, and so, but here we might wonder why they care to write down any of the secrets, if indeed their prosperity was dependent upon appropriation of their own knowledge. And after entering Edo period, as I have said, centuries-long conflict had ended, and there was not much demand for a covert political organization. Although ninja still lived among people and trained for possible employment in the near future, it became increasingly evident that ninja were no longer needed in this peaceful or relatively peaceful time. And as the name suggests, ninja, right, okay, so nin means just a sword over a heart. So you have to it describes a state of mind that you have to be constantly not nervous, but just alert. Yeah, alert. Yes, alert. And ja is just awesome. So, as the name suggests, ninja is someone who sneaks in with a sword over his heart. It signifies someone whose life is always in danger of death, requiring an attentive performance to do the job. But current state of affairs, that is in Edo period, offer them no such situations. Ninja families hence decrease in number, and gradually less and less people practice ninjutsu, which is the technique of ninja. Fearing that techniques that once determined the course of Japanese history would become forever lost, the offspring of ninja decided to write down their secrets. In this way, they chose to preserve their tradition rather than disappearing into the shadow of the history. The nature of their writings is such that they necessarily includes fabrication techniques later added to exaggerate and their merit and incredible accounts of their activities. It is even plausible that some also ninja who wrote down this tradition were admired as jonin, which I will explain later. They did not quite understand some of the techniques they were describing themselves. And hence, historians of science must not take their records at face value, but instead try to distinguish a fable from a true claim by comparing various manuscripts passed down to us, as well as performing the empirical experience by ourselves. Like sometimes they have recipes for a particular medicine and medicament, and we kind of have to try ourselves to see if they work. The essential activities are known to us beyond this skill, however. These can be reduced into 4 divisions mentioned above, which I talked earlier. They were mostly concerned with espionage, counterintelligence, and conspiracy, and unconventional warfare. And they would put poison into the well where enemy get water from before it even starts. And they die. Okay. So seeing that ninja primarily served as a covert military organization who would basically do whatever is asked to do, there is always a concern for the potential employers whether ninja would not betray them in the end. What distinguished ninja from bandits or simple criminal organizations were the codes of conduct that they firmly adhered to. This is kind of like firmly adhered to. These are the principles of jonin. Jonin means a ninja par excellence. And they kind of have a principle of jonin, and it says that jonin means jonin must be dutiful to the employers, without desire, knowledgeable in all matters, faithful to Confucianism and Buddhist teachings, and respectful to cause of warriors, or bushido, as some of us call it. And ninja jonin has to be also familiar with the geography and customs skillful at tactical thinking, and so on. But in reality, no one is this talented, and most ninja were not erudite. These codes of conduct are therefore to be taken only as an ideal to be aimed at, and not actually laws that were enforced upon them. This principle as an ideal seems to be the central theory in ninja philosophy or any type of thinking that was going on in their minds. As a matter of fact, ninja were internally bounded between their members more than they were to their employers, and they believed it utmost duty to help one another in times of difficulties. This gave them a limited but relative freedom as to exchange information among them. And Shoninki, which is a primary source I'm using, tells us that this is why some first-rate secrets, top government top secret, were often hidden or concealed from them in their employment as well. And ninja philosophy is essentially derivable from Chinese philosophy, though some are more obvious than others. Shoninki, for instance, mentions Sun Tzu's the art of war as the central source for their philosophy, according to which ninja are supposed to be able to master the languages of their enemy and become one of them. Further, they must talk about an event as if you were there when they were not, or speak of someone whom you have never met as if your best friend, and buy things when you do not have any money, and get drunk when you have not drunk at all. And you go out, and this is actually, I'm quoting, and you go out at night and never stay at an inn. Sometimes you get surprised by the voice of a deer and hide in the shadows of the trees, avoiding moonlights and ensconce yourself in an uncomfortable place. And it ends the chapter with a remark that says, what a sad life and full of hardships we suffer. Yet one must keep such experience to yourself, lest not to divulge your identity to others. It is probably for these reasons that people think ninja are strange. But let them think so, if they do not understand the hardships we go through. If we are asked, aren't you stupid to live like that? Let us respond, yes, we are. This is the way of shinobi. The unreal is the felicity, and the real is the truth. They don't really explain what, I guess this yin-yang theory that I'm going to talk about later on, but here the concept of felicity and truth dichotomy deserves some attention. In the philosophy of ninja, everything is flowing and nothing is absolute. And this is an obvious difference to yin-yang theory, which states everything is in motion. The success in the mission depends upon perceiving the change in things accurately and knowing when to act. So shinobi, which is the act of ninja, or sneaking in, states that whatever disadvantageous is the felicity to them, and whatever causes them benefit and power to them is the truth. As when times are in the felicity, one must wait until the right time comes. Acting hastily could ruin the entire operation as well as his own life. And the manuscript states that when samurai warriors fight one another, it is a fight between truth and truth, and they are both fighting for their own convictions, and whichever wins is not really not because the other guy was wrong. But when ninja fights, he is always the truth and the enemy always false. In such cases, it is important to have the enemy believe he is winning until his ultimate defeat at the very end. It is by this means that ninja can make himself the truth while keeping the enemy the felicity. This philosophy is vividly seen in the chapter that talks about enemy prevention. Here the text says that even if the opponent becomes angry, obviously because you did something wrong, you should blame the responsibility to someone else and disappear as soon as possible. They say that people blaming others for what you did is wrong, but this is just what they say in general. There's no need for you to think such a general principle applies to you. Although I have said that ninja help one another in times of difficulties, we must not forget that what is of utmost importance to them is the fulfillment of the mission. It would negate their whole purpose of existence if helping out a fellow ninja would mean abandoning the mission. In order to complete the mission, ninja must do whatever it takes. As such, fidelity to mission takes precedence to ethics. They can justify aforementioned unconventional warfare, like putting poison in the well or enemy's food. Such as the poisoning the enemy, destroying their weapons in advance, as well as assassination and arson, which was frequent. Following this philosophy, ninja believed anything is accomplishable. Following this, there is like if you observe the changes in nature. And if you still fail at your mission, then your reason may be troubled by emotions or preconceptions about things, which lead to a lack of conviction or impatience. To prevent this psychological instability, one must maintain the key at all times. As with, I will explain key later on, but as with Taoism, ninja teaches us that human mind is mysterious and comprehends natural elements or activities, namely wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. Human heart is just like the universe itself. When our heart is at calm and observes nature, we can adapt to any situations like flowing water. It is like fire changing its force depending on what it burns, and wood growing roots and leaves in their surrounding climate. If wind tries to sweep down the wood, accept it, you will wave it, and accept it, and you will wave in unison with the wind. But should you resist it, you will be defeated. Similarly, metal is hard but changes its shape according to the human deeds. Earth relates to all the 5 activities and keeps nature in harmony. In this way, ninja must obey the natural occurring of events as they unfold and act without going against the flow of the nature. Only by attaining this state of detachment of the self can we recognize pure reason, and only through the use of pure reason can we be mindful to the subtleties in nature. The pure reason, this is actually the word that was used in the manuscript. Yes, okay. Thus, ninja attack with absolute detachment of the self, and even if you ask for him, he is shapelessly merged into the universe. And even if you ask of him, he is so detached that there is no answer. He will act only in accordance with the pure reason. This part of ninja philosophy is largely taken by Zen philosophy, which states that the state of bodhisattva, which is satori or enlightenment, is inexpressible in words and is only attainable by pure experience. This view of activities as a part of cosmic nature and that we must respect the laws of nature is prevalent in Chinese medical philosophy as well. Okay. It is unfortunate that ninja did not elaborate on the medical theories and seem to think it unimportant to subject their views to a theoretical analysis. This makes sense to some extent, since ninja were not philosophers or scientists by profession, but only agents in covert operation. They had neither time nor interest in knowing how things worked, but only in that they worked. As a result, the parts in Shoninki where medicine is treated are limited to describing how to make what kind of medicine and when to use it. In fact, there are only 2 places where medicine is explicitly mentioned in Shoninki, and only a few places mention medical recipes in a more philosophical manuscript, Bansen Shukai, which is one of the 3 big manuscripts. But we know that medical knowledge played an important role in ninja activities. This is because one of the most basic tasks of ninja was to get information in the local areas. Whenever people needed to hide their identities in a foreign village, at that time in the 16th century or so, they would often disguise themselves as monks or pharmacists, not pharmacists, drug sellers. And so, but they only needed, so ninja followed suit as well, but they only needed the medical knowledge to the extent necessary. It must have been enough to be able to answer questions about medicine they were selling and ask whenever they are asked about them. Because they were not certified doctors or experienced in medical knowledge, but rather part-time doctors, they carried simple medicine that would most often be used by the general public, like curing headaches or stomachache normally. And this worked in their advantage as well, because these medicines would be useful for ninjas themselves when they are on the missions. Chinese medical philosophy is explained in complex combination of yin-yang theory and the 5 agents doctrine, which I say 5 agents, but there are many translations, like 5. Yeah.
Sorry, does the 5 agents have to do with the 5 rings, or is it
5.
What are the 5 rings? Is that?
No, I don't know. I don't think so. The 5. No, actually I don't think so. Actually, I don't know. I haven't read it. Yeah, that was my next research project. So maybe next year. Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of like a 5 elements. Some translated as elements, some activities, or some agents. I just used agents as often translated in Japanese. Okay. And I have a. So yin and yang are opposite but complementary forces. This is actually, yeah. I'm talking about 2 different. Okay, I should go back. Yeah. So yin and yang are opposite but complementary forces, elements or principles. The former being negative, passive, weak, destructive, while the other is yang is positive, active, strong, and constructive. Yin-yang theory sees that events as containing both yin and yang qualities at the same time. Just that each thing or phenomenon could be itself and its contrary. That is to say, yin contains the seed of yang, like as you can see, and vice versa. So that it's contrary to Aristotelian logic that they can actually one thing can be known A at the same time in this thing. And adding to that is the 5 agents doctrine, which is what I heard. Okay. Which introduces yin-yang theory concept of rotation, and this kind of is a generating sequence and kind of similar to Western philosophy. These 5 agents are conceived of at the level of Chinese cosmogony. And water, for instance, water generates earth, which generates fire, and then fire, earth, metal, and back to water. And this cyclical motion going on. And the concept of generation here is similar to the 4 elements in Greek philosophy. In Chinese philosophy, however, water assumes an important basis and is the beginning of the sequence. There are 2 other sequences that are significant in understanding how the agents interact with one another. And one is called controlling sequence, in which agents control another and is controlled by one. And that will be the star sign mark. And you can also see in the handouts too. So when you have a I should talk later. Okay. Okay. So the other one is going. Okay. So this sequence ensures that the balance is maintained among the 5 agents, and it self-regulates its balance as well as in combination with the generating sequence we have just mentioned. In this model, water controls fire, but fire generates earth, which controls water. Similarly, on the one hand, water controls fire, but also generates earth, which controls fire, and so on. This sequence is the key model for sustaining health when dealing with sickness or illness. The second sequence is called the insulting sequence, that you can also see in your, the other one. That's just the opposite of controlling sequence. And so water insults earth, earth insults earth, which insults metal, and so on. And when there is an imbalance in the body causing sickness, it is normally because agents are insulted and the order no longer maintained. In this way, Chinese model may be comparable to that of Greek humoral medicine. What is different from the Western medical thought is that each agent has has many correspondences, like designated correspondences. As, you can see that on the back of your handout. Like for example, it's just a really few cases, but each element or each activity corresponds to all these bodily functions. So I mean, they have a explicit designated correspondences. And what makes it more complex is that it is interlaced with the 5 agents doctrine. Just to give an example. Okay. Yeah. Water corresponds to the kidney in the organ. Food corresponds to the liver, fire to the heart, earth to the spleen, and metal to the lungs. In this scheme, the liver controls the spleen and generates the heart. The heart controls the lungs and generates spleen. The spleen controls the kidneys and generates lungs. The lungs control the liver and generates kidneys, and the kidney controls the, and so on. Further, yin and yang correspond to body parts such as front, back head, interior, exterior structure, and structure of organs and functions of organs in yin and yang organs. Just as the 5 agents aim at maintaining the balance in the body, yin-yang theory is applied to medicine to tonify either yang or yin quality, or to eliminate the excess of yin or yang qualities. For example, a seed of a fruit, such as of a peach, corresponds to metal in the 5 agent scheme, whereas in yin-yang theory, it corresponds to yang quality since it is hard rather than soft. Metal also corresponds to repelling evil spirits, generating water, which is the beginning of the generating cycle. But it also has a quality to insult good, which represents spleen. It's all intermixed, and it gets complicated. In this way, Japanese people throw roasted beans outside the house on the first day of spring to repel evil spirits for the new cycle of the year. This is actually on February 3rd every year. This is a folklore in Japan that this guy is called Momotaro, who is said to be born out of peach, a giant peach, and was just flowing in the river, and an old lady was washing the laundry during the laundry, and she sees a big, huge peach flowing, and she takes it and brings it back and opens, and there was a boy inside. And I didn't, this was kind of interesting. I didn't know that it actually had a philosophical kind of story here behind, but the seed of the peach represents a metal, and metal is a kind of metal repels evil spirits. And the story has it that this Momotaro grows up to become to actually fight against the demons, and he wins and happily live after kind of thing. So in this way, Japanese people throw roasted beans. Yeah. So this is event. I couldn't find a good picture of actually people. It just the beans are so small that I found some pictures, but it just you see people just standing, and you don't really see the beans. I just kind of excited. Okay. So we also threw the beans inside the house as well, exclaiming "demons out, luck in." The soybean signifying metal goes out to guard against the evil demons, while at the same time, in the quality of metal inside the house is weakened by us growing or eating, like crushing the beans with our own teeth, which is so that we can strengthen the quality of wood. As you can see, while such was the basic working principles in medical thought in pre-modern Japan, it would have been too much to ask of crypto pseudo part-time doctors, not to mention who ninjas were, and to memorize and understand all the correlations among the yin-yang 5 agents doctrine, not to mention the measurements and doses of each medicine. In effect, even one of the most celebrated Buddhist doctors in Japan once lamented in his medical corpus, that one cannot memorize all this. Did ninja then not understand medicine when they talked about painkillers or antidotes? The poisons seem to have worked well enough, and it is historically true that they made poisons out of surrounding plants to kill other people. in order to determine their philosophical framework regarding the formulation of medicines. We will now take a look at the two of the medical formula that appear in the most authoritative text and discuss in detail and see if they follow the medical philosophy of the East. The first is called suikatsugan, which just means that when you are thirsty, it's supposed to give water to your thirst. And so if taken in a dire need of quenching your thirst, it will make you suffer no more. The recipe for which rather simple and composed of, the recipe is quite simple and composed of these three ingredients on the top part. That's a plum and rock sugar, I think, and malt, as you can see now. So you can just try this at home, and I don't think you're gonna die. So it's fine. And you will mix them and powder it, and then make a small bowl and take one whenever you are thirsty. It's supposed to be really small, I think, 2 centimeters. Did I say that, 2 centimeters? I think it's 2 centimeters in diameter. The second medicine is kikatsugan, which is the same thing but for hunger, which will render no food necessary when taken 3 each day. And those are the recipes and ingredients required to make one. And when you mix them all, you marinate it in 5 liters of sake for 3 years. And when sake completely dries out, you make bowls out of this is a 2 centimeter in diameter. Now, people actually try this. And if you follow this recipe verbatim, apparently it will rot before even sake gets dried out. So it's not gonna work. Or perhaps you will need to find a way to dry sake out much quicker. But even if it worked, will it have the effect they claim it does? Will it work in theory? As I had mentioned earlier, ninja did not elaborate at all on their theories, but seemed to care only that they worked. So they must have worked at some level. Any reflections on the medicine in light of yin-yang 5 agents doctrine will be necessarily speculative and unfounded. So the question which concerns us most now becomes, will they work? The answer seems to be a disappointing one. Didn't want to conclude like this, but it was very, yes and no, it works, but it doesn't in one way. And although ninja medicine was not compatible with the yin-yang 5 agents doctrine, it did accord with the other prevalent philosophy in medicine, as well as in Buddhist philosophy. There is a transformation or the imbalance of ki, energy. The ki is the source of all movement in human physiology and assumes different forms depending on its state of condensation or dispersal, and is transformed, changed, transported, and it enters, exits, rises, descends, and disperses. Further, the ki forms material. I have a. So this is ki going on. Again, I couldn't find a better picture. I spent like half an hour trying to look at it. Yeah.
In the previous
slide,
yes. There's like a package. Is that because they're selling that?
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah. They now sell this in Japan, apparently, near the ninja inhabited areas.
Do they call it ninja food?
Yeah, I think, yes, it says here, this one, it says it is the portable food for ninja.
That's the kikatsugan.
Kikatsugan, yeah. And it also, and it says kikatsugan, and here it says, it takes 3 a day, and you will be fine with someone. So I would like to try this, actually.
So that one's a safe one, it's not the wrong one.
Yeah, that's a safe one, I think. So, I mean, either they have found a way to dry sake quicker, or they use completely different ingredients. And, okay, so, so ki forms a material body and has a yin quality when condensed, while it has a yang quality when it is dispersed and in motion. So when ki is flourishing, there is health. If it is weak, there is disease. If it is balanced, there is quiet. If it moves in the wrong direction, there is disease. Indeed, already by the 13th century, it was commonly believed that the disorder of qi within the body was the cause of many illnesses, as a famous Buddhist monk in the 13th century repeatedly remarked in his medical corpus that medicines that readjust the qi thereby treat the medial illnesses that can't go wrong. He was categorizing the illnesses arising from the mind as internal causes of ailments. Yeah, this picture doesn't say much. I realize, but yeah. Okay. After stating that internal causes of ailment are found where, some internal causes are found where illnesses are produced from the disorder of 7 key vital energies of joy, anger, melancholy, worry, sadness, fear, and flight. He recounts us the well-known Chinese story of Yue Gong. I can't pronounce it well. Who exhibited severe symptoms and became ill because he had imagined that he had swallowed a snake. Apparently what had happened was that he had mistaken the reflection of a ball in his drink for a snake and believed that he had drank the snake. I guess he must have been extremely drunk. In this way, it was conceived that evil passions and the source of mistakes arise from the imbalance of qi, which is in the mind. Once this becomes apparent, emotions are neither produced nor activated. The blood and qi are harmonized, and the mind and the body are at rest. This philosophy resembles much of what we have spoken of when we saw that ninja avoided themselves by the principle of absolute detachment, as discussed towards the end of Shoninki. I'd also like to mention in passing that when ninja talked about using amulets or protect themselves from danger and spells, this is often commonly depicted in not only Western but in Japan too, like ninja-related themed illusions. And they are often said to use amulets or use some kind of spells or magics to fight against the enemies. But when ninja does talk about this, and but when they talk about it, they also stated explicitly that to actually expect they will work is to be utterly ignorant of the world. That because there is no particular reason to disregard them as mere superstitions, the decision to use them or not is up to you. And as a commentator of Choninki also explains, it seems that if something works actually or not, wasn't really a concern to them, as long as it worked apparently. And so it's more like a psychological, if it has a psychological effect on you, then that's good. And it is in this sense that ninja medicine worked. And that is if amulets or medicines had a positive influence to control qi in the person. That is all what was required for. And from these considerations, it seems reasonable to suggest that the fruit of ninja medicine lies in the maintenance of the order of qi rather than depending on the effects of the specific medicaments, specifically prepared medicaments. Now, what about poisons? Poisons enjoyed a distinct status in ninja science in that they actually worked, not just apparently, but they actually worked. And, well, okay. However, here too, it seems that how they concocted deadly poisons had not much to do with the monastic medical philosophy, but simply to do with pure experience. With the healing medicines, it was possible to argue, if it doesn't work, that whether they work or not depended on how detached you are or how faithful to your Buddhist philosophy, according to the Buddhist philosophy. But because one cannot deceive another with a poison that does not actually work or whose effects depended upon the enemy's conviction that it works, ninja had to actually test them in a number of occasions, and they left recipes for those poisons that did work, as well as those that didn't work as well. But in fact, although there are only so few differences as to healing medicines, the list of poisonous medicine is incomparably large. There are recipes that use ingredients like toad's oil, which is often used in the West too, red spider lily, which is not a spider, so Japanese star anise, as well as cannabis and Nux vomica, which is the seed of vomit, I guess. Well, makes you vomit, I guess. But here I will list a few of the deadliest poison. Okay. The first of which is a poison called matching, whose main whose main ingredient is Nux vomica, and it is a deciduous tree native to India and Southeast Asia, which is highly toxic. And the chemical called strychnine inside. This is extremely toxic and is said to kill you if you ingest even 1 gram of it. And ninja use this primarily to kill dogs, actually, not persons. And that guarded the house they tried to sneak into. They studied psychology and human behaviors, and they were able quite accurately to predict how people would react to unknown noises at night, or if they would fall for deception. But dogs were different. Even ninja could not read dogs' mind to deceive. And so since dogs react to movements immediately as opposed to mediate, in a way, dogs were the ninja's enemy par excellence, whom they could not draw in to their own side. So the elimination of dogs would give them an advantage, and hence was the basic ninjutsu. They did this by first taming the dogs of the house, giving them rice balls a few days before they would sneak into the house. If they were completely tamed by the night of mission, they would cause them no harm, and I suppose. But if the dogs were still cautious of them, ninja would give them rice balls mixed with powdered Nux vomica. The dogs would remain at and then the dogs would remain at the verge of death for a while, for an indefinite. It doesn't really say how long. But if the missions were accomplished before they died, ninja would give them water, which revives them. Apparently, if you drink water, it gets cured. I don't know how that works, and I don't want to try it. If you absolutely have to kill the dog for whatever reasons you have, you would give them rice balls mixed with Nux vomica and finely ground iron, and that would kill them 100%. Another famous poison is called, loosely translated, the poison of the tea house. It uses gyokuro, which is a rare and expensive type of tea leaves. You make an extra strong tea with this and pour it into a bamboo tube, and you will then boil it under earth and take it out after a month. It is said that a few drops would make you sick in 1 month and die in 2 months. Yet another unique poison includes a mole, a newt, and the blood of a snake mixed with other herbs. And if you light fire on it and throw it into the enemy's house, the enemy who inhaled the smoke would either sleep or hallucinate, and would die in 70 days. They normally seem to have a consequence of dying. It's even like sleep-inducing medicines. In the end, they die for some reason. But this probably did not work. There's another medicine that probably did not work, but is praised as a medicine of the enlightened, which uses black soybeans and cannabis in the ratio of 5:3. You mix them, powder it, and make a bowl out of it. Then you smoke it and powder it again. If you drink a cup of tea made from this formula, you can apparently maintain your energy and do not have to eat or drink for 7 days. If you drink 2 cups, you can stay alive without food or drink for 49 days. And with 5 cups of it, you will live for 16,807 days without food or drink. This is obviously, I don't know if they were trying to fool us or. Okay, as we can see, Ninja Corpus includes medicines that would and would not work in tandem. This is probably due to the fact that they wrote the manuscripts long after their prime time, and they were writing in part to heroicize the past glory in times of relative peace, but also because their focus in medicine was more about controlling the chi rather than following a theoretical formula. Now, this is the ninja uniform that, actually it's not true. This is the one, I couldn't find the true uniform online. This is Yeah, this is it's sold online apparently. You can get this, and you can be a ninja yourself. If you're interested, you can send me a link, email and just send you a link to. So although ninja medicine lacked in a theoretical rigor, their observation excelled in natural philosophy. Some of their astonishing scientific discoveries based on pure observation include the color of their costume, and they use a cat clock as well as an accurate observation of the sleeping patterns of human beings. People now take it for granted that ninja wore a black uniform, but a ninja scholar, Yamashita, rightly points out two major problems with this common belief. First of all, wearing such a costume all the time is utterly conspicuous and illustrates insanity. Why would you wear clothes and speak out? Why would you wear clothes that speak out, "I'm a ninja," and when you want to be invisible to the public eye? As has been stated earlier, activities of ninja primarily include information gathering, as such, they travel between the cities and meet people very frequently. If they really wore black uniforms at night, they must have carried additional clothing for the daytime activities. But they already carry a lot of things, and carrying extra stuff in addition to several items to be used in their activities is already a huge burden. And this is also why ninja had to invent medicines like suikatsugan, which is that are very tiny and do not take up space. Literally, it has only the it offers you peace of mind, but doesn't have any chemical effect. And if the okay, and considering practicality, it would be much easier and convenient for them to have worn clothes that are darker in color, but could be worn in daytime as well, without appearing suspicious. Secondly, pure black clothes is rather expensive. Ninja who would sneak into houses and castles were normally the lower rank ninja, and it would not have been plausible that they could have afforded to have uniforms with pure black color made for them for their everyday use. These are rather technical difficulties, but there is one more crucial scientific reason why they could not have worn black uniform. We now need to look at the structure of human eyes briefly. Really briefly. In the retina of the eye, there are two layers of segments, and cone photoreceptor cells and rod cell outer segments. And the cone photoreceptor cells are converged in the center of the eye and detect colors in daytime and in bright spaces, whereas rod cell segments have photic sense and can see in dark places but detects only light or dark. In short, human eyes can detect colors well only when we see something with the center of the eye in fairly bright places. On the contrary, we cannot detect colors well if we see something at the edge of the eye or in dark places. The cone photoreceptor cells stop detecting colors starting with the ones with the colors with longer wavelength in the so the color red, which has the longest wavelength in the primary colors, become invisible first, and then yellow loses its color, leaving the blue alone to be seen in the end. This is why at dawn everything looks somewhat bluish because the photoreceptor cells are inactive due to the lack of light. And as a result, we see things with the rod cell segments. As a result, we see things with the rod cell segments of the eye. When you consider this fact, pure black clothing is actually a disadvantage. The reasons being that even at night, it's not a pitch black. Even then, back then, there are moonlights, starlights, and candle lights from houses. And almost everything, including plants and rooftops, reflect tiny amount of light. However, pure black suit would not have any luminosity. So in a place where surroundings emit some amount of light, you would be more easily found because of the contrast your clothes creates. Now, in daytime, if you hide behind trees or walls, it can be quite dark. Of course, if somebody sees you directly from the front, then there is no chance of you escaping detection. But wearing darker colored clothing that has similar degree of luminosity as the surroundings would be beneficial if you are seen with the corner of the eye. You may be able to escape the detection. Now, we see that clearly black colored uniforms are not practical for covert operation. In fact, the reason why we see ninja wearing pure black in movies and shows, and also they sell on the internet is because it is cool. And also it is very easy to spot. So what Ninja in fact wore was a uniform in dark reddish brown. This is because the corn photoreceptor cells lose color red before they lose yellow and blue. It is the first color to disappear in the dark, and because it is not completely pure black, it has the benefit of attaining some level of luminosity, allowing it to be mingled with the surroundings. The ninja were particularly observant as regards its lightness and darkness. It's also seen from their use of cats in determining what time it is. And clocks existed back then, but they were not portable. In order to find roughly what time it is, ninja looked at eyes of the cats nearby and made a song to memorize. 6 when it's round, 5 or 7 when it's egg-shaped, 4 or 8 when it's a seed of a persimmon, and 9 when it's a needle. This finding of knowing the time by looking at the cat's eyes was employed to argue in support of knowing the best time to sneak into a house. Because the successful sneaking in depends on the time when they sneak in. They left an instruction on when to do it with most success in sneaking. Here I will quote the article almost in full citation. It says, although there is not a fixed time that is best to sneak in, you should in general aim for when people are off guard, like when they are busy. Do not be impatient. Some of the best times are at twilight, 10 p.m., midnight, 4 a.m., 6 a.m., noon, and 6 p.m. Since should you not know what time it is, you should make an effort to know it through experience. Even cat's eyes become thin or round depending on the time of the day. So it is implausible that humans cannot be susceptible to it. In general, people go to bed at around 9 to 10 and are in deep sleep at 1 to 2 a.m., waking up at about 5 to 6 a.m. If you are in a deep sleep, the breathing sounds are irregular. If they are regular, you are probably pretending to be asleep. Even if they are deep asleep, people often wake up regularly, and you need to be careful to detect when they are in a deep sleep and when they are in a shallow sleep. When climbing the rooftop and walking on it, you will use your sword as a stepping stone and try not to make any sound. If you see something unfamiliar on your way, throw a stone at it and see how it will react. If they notice your presence, use a technique called ryōfuri, or holding from both sides, and throw a stone at the opposite direction to the one you are going to and make a run for it. And seems like stones were often used. They were kind of favorite items that they usually carry. Stones and cats. And ninja were well aware that the eyes of the cats are much more receptive than their eyes could be, the human eyes could be. No, sorry. They were well aware that the eyes of cats are much more receptive, and their eyes could be thin and even at noon if they are in the shadow. The commentator of Shoninki states that the intent of this article is to encourage you to use all senses possible and detect any information necessary to know the time by listening for bells at temples, cries of animals, or smells of food being prepared. What is most interesting here is a depiction of sleeping patterns. This is a clear reference to what we now call REM sleep. Would you say REM sleep, R-E-M sleep, or you can say REM? Okay. When breathing becomes irregular and when we most likely dream. It appears once every 2 hours or so and lasts for 5 to 30 minutes. People in REM sleep look as if they are at the verge of waking up, but in fact they are in the deepest sleep and will not easily wake up. Ninja also employed psychological means to hide their identity, and they learned their survival techniques mostly from animals around them. For instance, when you hide by the trees or in the shadows, it was possible for people to still hear heartbeats or breathing sounds, especially at a quiet night. There was not a single noise of a car to help you make up for any sound you make. In such situations, ninja often imitated animals for disguise. Also, this sort of technique is often used for comical effect nowadays. When your life depends on it, depends on how well you imitate. The imitation must have been of the highest quality. when people hear some unknown noise, they would be uneasy and a desire to know what that noise is arises. And ninja observed this fact, and they answered that if people are anxious to know what the noise they had just heard is, only false information was necessary to make them believe they understood the cause of it. So if they heard a cat immediately after hearing the strange noise, they would reason that the sound they just heard must have been of the cat they are hearing now. Once they are convinced, even if they hear a stranger sound consequently, they would assume that the cat must be of a big one or must be sick, and so on, to try to stick to the original conclusion they have reached. Further, because they imitate the sound of animals, even if they constantly make some noise, people would just think that cats are being noisy. This wouldn't work if you imitate like the sound of water or something, and then when you make some noise later on, you're doomed. Yeah, further, because they imitate the sound of animals, even if they constantly make some noise, people would just think that cats are being noisy. Since cats and dogs are often found in and out of the house, ninja were particularly trained to disguise as cats or dogs, and they were really good at it. In addition to this, ninja used a number of hiding techniques learned from other various animals. The famous instances of which are Kitsune Gakure, which means the way of the foxes, and Tanuki Gakure, the way of the raccoon dogs, and Kakuremino, hiding in the straw. Now, Kitsune, okay, yeah. So Kitsune Gakure is the fox thing. It's the one in which ninja hide underwater. It received its name from the fact that foxes have strong smell. So when they are chased after by hunting dogs, they are said to escape their detection by traversing underwater. I haven't been able to find a picture of this. But here, ninja will usually leave the face above the surface to breathe, with water, grass, and algae around, so that it is difficult to be found. They probably did use a bamboo tube or scabbard, or like a case for katana, like as in this picture, to breathe, completely submerging themselves underwater. But the problem with it is that it will be unnatural and overtly conspicuous if there's a bamboo tube sticking out where there's nothing else around, as you can see. And also someone can put poison on it, and yeah. And so also in any case, to prevent ninja from hiding samurai warriors, to prevent ninja from hiding in these ways, samurai warriors then often cleared any water, grass, or algae in ponds in advance. And this is also known as a suiton no jutsu, which is a collective name for escaping method using water. Like anything you escape, and any escaping method using water would be called suiton no jutsu. Okay. Although it is famously employed often in ninja-themed stories, it is not something you would want to do, as you would be completely wet, and anyone who sees you will be suspicious of you. On the contrary, Tanuki Gakure, this is the way of the raccoon dogs, is when you hide on the trees, camouflaging with the leaves. As long as you, this works quite well. Eh? You can really, it's very. There's a raccoon dog in it. Yeah, and I mean this probably must have worked quite well. And but as long as you are not seen climbing the tree, it probably works quite well. We are not used to checking what is above us. So this too is a tactic that studies human psychology. That hence we have often like danger signs on the top cliff area, because we are not really used to checking up. Anyway, lastly, kakuremino is the one probably most often seen in shows also. It's what you use when there is absolutely no time to climb trees or hide underwater without making any splashing sound. In kakuremino, you will find a space or a container of rice or straw, for example, to hide and wait until the enemy is gone. If you do this, however, you are deprived of your freedom to move, and normally you are kind of in a container situation, like hiding in the dust box in the contemporary situation, I guess. And but if you do this, you can move. So once you are found, you probably get killed without further ado. There are many other tricks or items ninja use in their daily operations. Some of them ingenious, while others are utterly useless. But before I conclude my paper, I would like to mention one more invention of ninja that most likely did not work at all, but it's seen as the most characteristic item of ninja, and that is called mizugumo, which is a shoes that you wear and you walk on the water. And as you can see in the photo, it is virtually impossible to it's virtually impossible to walk on water, let alone run from the enemy. Well, actually, I tried this. And, yeah, and this is really, I mean, you have to have a rope to actually, and when you're running from the enemy, you can't move quickly. Walking is much faster too. So as you can see in the photo, it is virtually impossible to walk on water, let alone run from the enemy. And it is apparently made with a foxglove tree, but in order to float a person, say like person weighing 50 kilograms, you will need to wear you need to wear a cone to run those shoes that is 50 cents in diameter and 20 cents in height on both legs. You may be able to float, yes, but you certainly cannot move smoothly, and you will probably likely fall. Further, you will be looking like a crab, essentially, and unable to move on water or dodge any eggs that they're throwing at you or something, stones, and so unable to walk on water, and you are an excellent target for the enemy to throw stones at in this situation. And although it is hoisted as one of the ninja's most famous invention, and also is recorded in Bansen Shukai, which is the most authoritative manuscript, it is generally attested that such a device did not exist, but was later added by the offspring who left the manuscript. And apparently this device appears in old Chinese documents. I haven't been able to locate, but scholars seem to think that the ninja got this picture when they were looking through the warfare manuscripts in Chinese, trying to learn new stuff. They thought it was cool and just kind of put it there. And yeah, probably they haven't tried it themselves because it's impossible to learn already. Okay, so this concludes my findings on the philosophy of ninja. I have illustrated that ninja were a professional spy organization and hence needed to master techniques to find out inside information, poison the enemy before the battle begins, and disguise themselves so as to escape enemy's detection. In doing so, I have briefly discussed the basic Chinese philosophy, really briefly, that was on the foundation of Japanese medical theory since the 12th century onwards, such as yin-yang theory and five agents doctrine, as well as transformation ki energy. And I have argued that ninja medicine had not much to do with any particular philosophical doctrines, but rather much to do with being in control of their own emotions and ki energy, which is to say gut feelings, I guess. They were not, yeah. And in this respect, it is largely a reflection of Zen philosophy, more so than on other schools of thought. I then concluded with some discussions on their psychology, animal philosophy, as well as the scientific discoveries for your information, which I term observational science. It's different from empirical science that we seem to use a lot. It's not rigorous and doesn't seem to work in the science. So I use a different word, saying like I call it observational science. In sum, I believe ninja did not know and did not have any interest to Chinese medical corpus, but rather collected information on their own through experience and observation. The interest rather lied with the philosophy of warfare, so they knew a lot about philosophy of warfare. Like they learned a lot of only the ones who are at the top, I think. But they seem to have read a lot of manuscripts concerning warfare, but they didn't know much about the medical corps. And although they obtained a lot of information from the Chinese books, the scientific inquiry remained limited and never left their own circle for criticisms and improvement. That's it. Yes, that's it. Thank you. Good. So how? Any questions or feedback or yes?
What are these water shoes made of?
Foxglove trees. They say that it's made out of foxglove trees. But I don't think so. This is actually, I think it's, I don't, I mean, this isn't the real thing, which, though this was actually in, there's a ninja village in Japan, in Shiga Prefecture, just by Kyoto, next to Kyoto. And they actually, there's a lady who is 300 years old in this village. And she told me that she was 300 years old with a straight face and no explanation whatsoever. And she, yeah, so this ninja village, if you go there, you can try all these different items. And you can see ninja, like you can try the shuriken that I didn't talk about, the famous items. And you can try this, but I don't know if I don't think they followed exact the same formula, because it seems like it's not a plant. It's not made by, it's not, I don't think it is. Yes?
Oh, I was wondering, why did the ninja place so much emphasis on killing people over a long period of time?
Long period of time.
Such as the poison of the tea house, which takes 2 months to kill.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe so that they won't be traced. like, you know, like if somebody died, if it's something you had 2 months ago, you don't even remember where that was, so you can just, or most likely though, probably because some of them actually didn't work, and they wanted to say like, if something didn't work, then you have to wait for a few weeks. You just, yeah. Yeah, I try to find what's more like, really like philosophical kind of frameworks in studying ninja. But in like, the last 6 months, I'm reading different documents, and it's really hard, extremely. I find it that they didn't really. I mean, most of them didn't beat much, and they couldn't beat. And only there were 3 types of ninja, and Jonin, which is what I explained, the best ninja par excellence, who is said to know everything and who doesn't seem to exist anywhere. You can actually, nobody knows where Jonin is. The Jonin, Chunin, Genin, and Jo is like high and medium or middle, and Genin is the lowest rank. And always ninja in operation are usually the lowest rank, and the the middle ground people they kind of act as a message conveyors, and they talk to the Jonin, the boss, and they deliver information to the other guys, subordinates. And even these guys, the middle guys, they don't know, or they have never seen, or they never see Jonin who they are. This Jonin ninja, he is apparently always behind the wall, and you can only talk to him through through wall, and he's also disguised. He changes his voice quite often, and even like when he goes out, he's kind of like a J.D. Oldman. He's never in the same costume or uniform. He's always in a different character. Sometimes a street performer, and sometimes a monk, and sometimes just a dying person. And so you could, I mean, this middle ground ninja who is message conveyors, even they could. It says that even they could not probably recognize Jonin, even if this guy was standing next to him. And it was like the utmost secrecy was kept all the time, and so I mean nobody really knew about him, and also the nature of ninja was they had to be really secretive, so they couldn't have written down anything. It was only possible after the generations after, and so by definition, when the ninja whose name we know are not really good ninjas, they were kind of ninjas were screwed up. And so they, and joining, like, it seems like the most excellent ninja are still, the ones that we don't even know or we haven't even heard of, and there's no way of knowing who that was or what the philosophy was of them. So it's quite fascinating, but yeah, so that's what, yeah.
What is the best movie to represent the philosophy of ninja for you?
This movie?
Yeah.
I don't know. I should make it.
That one.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. But you can actually take this on YouTube. I wanted to do this, but I couldn't put my I couldn't put clip on the. Yeah, but you can check if you type in Issei Ninja training on YouTube. You can find me walking and falling. Yeah. Yes.
And how far back can ninja history be traced?
Okay, that's it seems like the word ninja was used only in the 12th or 13th century, and that's the first time it appears in documents. And but it seems, what if we look at what they did, like espionage and assassination, and political organizations, political leaders seem to have been using people like ninja at the time of in the 8th century already, and the documents they called that at the time it was called something else, but someone who is specialized in assassination or espionage, but wasn't called a ninja, and wasn't. I don't think there was much demand for it yet, and they just used it as just a spy, personal spy, but. And we don't really know exactly when, and nobody actually knows exactly when ninja originated. And there are a couple of theories though, but many of them are really not credible, apparently. And this one, I don't know if you are familiar with Japanese history. Yoshitsune, Minamoto no Yoshitsune, if you have heard, he's one of the first guy who is kind of who is like a popular personage in Japanese history, but in the 10th century, 11th century, well, no, actually, 12th century. And he, many people think that he might have been a ninja, and he was, okay, the story has it that he was actually an orphanage, and he was brought to a mountain called Kurama, which is in Kyoto. And at the Kurama mountain, Mount Kurama, or the Kurama temple, there lived a tengu, which is a guy with it's a human-shaped god with a huge, like, long nose, and I think he can fly too. But yeah, and he was apparently really good with martial arts. And Yoshitsune was trained by tengu. This is become history records to us. That Tengu trained Yoshitsune when he was a child, and he became like he got all the techniques from Tengu, which later came to be known as ninjutsu or technique of ninja. And Tengu seems to be from either it seems to be that Tengu was a Chinese monk, maybe, or someone from outer space. And it seems like both accounts are as credible as the other. So yeah, we don't really know about this. Yeah. Yes.
And what about that story that ninjas were samurais that were like dishonored or rejected? And then they started to oppose the samurais, and then that's how they grew, or?
Ninja.
Yes, I heard that story.
Okay. No, ninja was they were actually they lived in kind of like countryside in the beginning and to begin with, and when the war, see, like when all over Japan was in the war period, I think ninja is kind of like from here area, and I think everything is happening outside, and then they were kind of left and in the mountain, and they were just living in a natural life. and but they needed to kind of live too. So they seem to have trained themselves to be skillful in all this kind of because they lived in mountains and they had to kind of they were extremely knowledgeable about that geography in that area. And people who are, and also like main battles was, main battle were fought in these areas. And this is where the Edo period began too. And so ninja lived relatively close to the major arena. And so that's, lots of shogun leaders, political leaders seem to employ those sub-characters from outside, outskirt, and send them, because they're not known to anybody, send them as a spy. So, and that seems to be the origin. And didn't seem to be any direct confrontation with samurai. Yes?
So, challenging question.
Yes.
Since this is a philosophy conference.
Yes, kind of, yes. Yes.
You present this as a talk on the history and philosophy of science and medicine in pre-modern Japan. I'm wondering what you take philosophy to be here. What you've described is a tradition that embodies a tremendous amount of practical knowledge that has some kind of derivative relationship to Chinese traditions that are more sort of evidently philosophical, in particular the yin-yang theory, which has some kind of account of a distinction between appearance and reality. That is, appearances in the world are caused by these fundamental underlying principles. And then the five agents theory is theoretical, but arguably is only comparable to, say, Pythagorean numerology, which posits links between things without seeking to explain them. Right? So it's fascinating, the ninja tradition, but at the same time, if it's going to be described as a philosophy, then the use of that term needs to be justified. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think you've been thinking about this. Because it seems to me that you set out to look for the ninja philosophy and then found a practical body of knowledge. That's
actually, I realized at the end, I kept trying to find more philosophy, but it seems like I couldn't find anything, but instead I found philosophy in extension, other like a periphery of ninja. And so that's kind of, I've been finding more philosophy around this non-ninja area. And so at the end, I don't feel like I could make this as any philosophical, even though I kind of proposed it as, I couldn't do it. And I'm trying to make it like this is a kind of like it says introduction, and I'm trying to do it. This could be like a introductory part in the essay, and the body part comes next. And I'm trying to work on the yin-yang theory and five agents specifically in the next series, which is going to be more about philosophy and medical theories in Japan by monks and monastic medical philosophy. But this one in particular, this particular one, I thought I could find more medicine philosophy, but it wasn't there. And even these five agents too, it's kind of forcibly put, and it's not doing justice too. So I would like to theme this for the next project and try to do a philosophy more. Thanks. Yes.
You talked about the yin-yang theory.
Yes.
Could there be a connection between the yin-yang theory and how the ninjas view themselves? Because if I'm not misunderstanding this, essentially they're saying that there's bad and good in every event. Did the ninjas perhaps view themselves as something bad, the bad part of the event, or the?
I don't know if there's bad and good, because I mean everything is kind of in flux or changing all the time. There is nothing there's nothing, like you can't say this is good because it will be bad at some point in the future because it's the yin and yang are always alternating. So I think Ninja says that whatever benefits them is good or the truth. So it seems like their philosophy was just that whatever benefits them is at the moment, like now, it's good or true to them, but not absolutely. That seems to be yeah. Yes, yes.
Well, you said something about 5 ages. You weren't sure if they really use that, but maybe as a starting point, since the Greeks usually argue that this element was the founding principle. Why did they leave out the air element? The air agent?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it the founding one, or is it
I mean,
the empty center?
Yeah, I decided to kind of postpone that inquiry until I'm done with the ninja thing, and I'm really interested in now, because I started this as trying to find what ninja thought, but ended up not finding much philosophy in ninja. So I'm kind of interested in moving on to those other areas that are more philosophical and so that would be something I would be spending much time on, I think. But I hope to be able to answer you soon. Send me a message. Yes. I don't know how much time I have. Yes.
I have a question about one of the
yes, please.
on the poison slide.
I didn't use this. Yeah. Poison slide. Yes. This one? Okay.
Those are seeds. What are they? The bottom left. There's an image.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is actually the Gyokuro tea. This comes from this one.
Oh.
It's very. Gyokuro means it's a bowl. Gyoku means bowl, and ro is kind of a dew. So it's kind of a dew bowl. Yeah. So it apparently looks like this, and I don't know how they extract, but that's what Gyokuro is, and it can be dangerous. Good. Any feedback or any was I talking too fast or was I okay? Okay. Perfect. Well, hope it was interesting, and I hope to further do research on actual philosophy.